You have a fascinating article in the Daily Mail today. I've read every word of it, and it is a really interesting take on all of this. You, of course, have the authority to write it and the knowledge, because you were the commanding officer of the 1st Battalion, the Royal Irish Regiment, during the Iraq War and are, if I may say so, an Iraq War hero. The headline is, "I fear a full-scale invasion will end in a bloody quagmire, but there is another way," drawing on the lessons of Iraq and Northern Ireland. Tell us what that different approach is that you're advocating.
Well, ultimately, my personal belief is that there can be no peace in the Middle East until we get back to the Oslo Accords and a two-state solution. And the two-state solution is based on an Israel safe and secure within its borders, and that's an important, they must be within their own borders, and a Palestinian state under the Palestinian Authority. In 2005, Hamas, backed by Iran, kicked out and murdered much of the Palestinian Authority under Fatah, and have ruled as a little statelet of fear ever since. And I've been in Gaza under Hamas. Luckily, they didn't know I was there, or I wouldn't have been coming back. It's people just live in fear, and I don't know anyone that I've met has a good word to say about Hamas, but they have no choice. So it comes down to the fact that bombarding the people of Gaza is an error. They are not responsible for this. Hamas is. My understanding, of course, is that even after the attacks had gone on, Hamas have continued to fire rockets from Gaza with the clear intention of, they know Iron Dome's there and they're not going to have any effect. Their clear intention is to incite retaliation from the Israelis, to turn the tables on the Israelis and incite sympathy. And something like, we're told that hundreds of children and others have been killed in Gaza already. And this is no solution to what happened, the horrors that happened on Saturday. So my view would be, yes, some of the Israeli military has to go into Gaza and root out Hamas on the ground. But to do that indiscriminately with huge casualties would be a mistake. And I think they should do that in partnership with the Palestinian Authority. And that means having a full and frank discussion with the Palestinian Authority, facilitate them moving their fighters across what is Israeli territory to take over Gaza, and once and for all, take Gaza back into the Palestinian Authority and kick out Hamas and kick out the Iranians.
How realistic do you think your plan is, or do you think the Israelis will just pulverize Gaza?
I think the Israelis will just pulverize Gaza, and I think they'll bitterly regret that. And I think generations will look back and say, why the hell didn't we get the Palestinian Authority? Because what peace in the long run will look like is the Palestinian Authority back in control in Gaza, hopefully with some parts of Gaza with a brick upon brick. And at the moment, it's being smashed to pieces. And there's 2.3 million people living there. And I would venture that something of the order of about 85% of the people there want nothing to do with Hamas.
Yeah, they have so little choice, Tim, don't they? They have so little choice. They're being controlled, aren't they?
They're not fans of the Israelis by any way, shape or form, but they would far prefer to be living in peace and living their lives and going to university and school and growing up and having the things everyone wants. Hamas, in an Orwellian, need a state of war. It's what Mao called creating the conditions of a revolutionary struggle. And if the Gaza Strip is a place that you can live and have a tolerable life, they are being undermined. So they work day and night to make the place a hellhole, and they've achieved that. And now they're causing the Israelis to reinforce their cause. And this is part of a bigger scheme. The fact of the matter is that the people ultimately behind this and behind Hamas, not that Hamas need any encouragement, but the failure of intelligence is a clear indication that the planning of this and the rehearsal for this was carried out outside of Gaza, because the number of informants, I can assure you, inside Gaza would have seen something.
Yeah.
So the hand of the Iranians is all over this.
With that in mind, in terms of the intelligence failures here and the fact that Mossad, which we know is has been an incredibly successful intelligence service previously, the fact that the Israelis didn't really, or appear not to have seen this coming, if you're advocating limited ground incursions in a targeted way, how do we know that that intelligence is correct, or is it something different?
Well, it's the intention to provoke a ground offensive. It would be part of the plan that would have been hatched in Tehran, all part of the plan. Essentially, you can divide Gaza up into Gaza City itself, the old city, and then into a series of refugee camps, the biggest of which is Khan Yunis, and an important one in the south called Rafah. Rafah is important because it's not only a refugee camp, it's also the site of a couple of hundred tunnels which go under the border into Egypt, and that's where everything, including washing machines, motorbikes, you name it, come through, including people as well. And so that needs control, because it's also the gate into Egypt. The calculation the Iranians have made quite clearly is that because of the Abraham Accords, and increasingly under the Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, Middle Eastern countries are moving closer to a rapprochement with Israel and a normalization, something that could only benefit the Palestinian people and give them leverage to have a better life.
Okay.
And so this is all about stopping that, halting that, creating the conditions of war under which Hamas have to exist. They can't exist in peace.
Yes. And nor apparently do they want to.